Hi everyone, Sat here. So in this video we're going to get the gargoyle flying up and down. It's a bit of a long video and I do make a few mistakes, but I decided to leave everything in because I think it's actually a really good way for you to kind of learn and to see some of the good sides of ARCore and some of the kind of sides that are a bit difficult. You're going to have problems as well when it comes to doing stuff like debugging, using other people's code. So I use some code from the Unity API page, and I have some issues with it, but I left it all in because I really want you guys to see what it's like to kind of develop. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this video. We'll get this gargoyle flying, and hopefully we can. Hopefully you like the video and you can leave a like, and in fact just hit like, leave a comment now. I'd appreciate that, and then enjoy the video. So we want this gargoyle to go up and down the whole gargoyle pairing, and that's only when the flying gargoyle is active. So what we could do is activate and deactivate a script when the flying gargoyle is activated as well. So instead of just activating the flying gargoyle and deactivating the stone one, we also activate this script. So let's create, so I did a quick search on Google and I found this script for mathf.lerps, since we want to shift the position of the game object up and down. So I'm not sure how this is going to work, if it's going to work great or not, but let's just try out and see what happens. Maybe we can adjust it. So I'm going to name this script vertical movement, since it's just moving up and down. And I'm going to create add. And then I'm going to double click it. And I'm going to take that existing code that is in the from that script that I've got, and I'm going to just paste it into here, as like that. And then I'm going to switch this on and off. What I could do actually is just try it out first, really, and just see what happens. It should run even though the ARCore stuff isn't working. So let's try it and see what happens. Okay, so this is good. It's working. It's moving left to right. So the reason it's moving left to right is because in the code it's doing a lerp on the X one, and we want it to be on the Y one. So if we just take this and cut it and then put 0 here and then put it there, put it on the Y axis, because we're lerping the Y axis rather than the X one. And then we try it again. We should get it upwards. And okay, so actually what we're getting is a down one and then an up one, right? Right, that's not what we want actually. It's not bad, it's something to play with. So the minimum value, actually we want that to be 0 then, right? Because -1 is going too low. So let's change this to 0 and let's hit that as a save that, and then let's hit play. And what this should do is have it as the point here, and it should shift it up. There we go. So we've got it going up and then coming back down again and then back up again. So we've actually got like a legitimate flying gargoyle here now. And then what's going to be interesting is when we test this on the device and we switch the light off, switch the light on when the gargoyle is at the highest point, because then what should happen is it should switch to the other gargoyle, switch this vertical movement off, which is what we'll add, and then it should drop which will be kind of cool actually to see that. So let's switch this off, clear this. Let's make an adjustment to the light controller, and the light controller is now going to take this vertical movement script. So let's add another one, private. Let's do vertical movement VM, and just like we did, I'll do it in small actually. VM. Just like we did with the rigid body, we're going to do VM is equal to get component vertical movement. Super simple, and then we're just going to switch it on and off. That's it really. Now I've got a feeling this will have some issues, but we can work that. We can work on that. Dot set active. Dot enable, I should say actually, equals, now if it's bright we want it to be false because the gargoyle is not awake, and then equals true, right? So so I'll just make another note so we have it a little bit more clear. Bright stone, since that's what happens anyway. It's the behavior of the gargoyle. So now if we hit play, we can see how this works. Okay, so the gargoyle's flying. When it's on, but we want to see what happens when it's off, right? So actually I can't really test this in the device on the thing, which is why the instant preview is super useful. The other thing I'm going to do is, can you see this at the beginning? We've got both of these on, and that's a bit strange, right? We shouldn't really have that. It's a bit weird. So I'm going to actually switch off the flying gargoyle. I'm just going to assume that the light is on. I could actually switch them both off, right? And what will happen is, as soon as we place the object, we're still placing this. And because we're just placing this, what it should do is switch them on or off depending on whether the light's on or off, and we won't get two objects on at the once. Now I'm not sure if this will work quite as well as I think I'd like. It might though, so let's just have a look. Let's have a look at it. So I will press play, and hopefully we'll get my phone in here. There we go. So you can see my phone now. I just need this to make sure. There we go. It should be okay. And now if I tap the screen, tap the floor. Have I managed to? I don't think I've got enough of the. It's searching for the floor. Actually, you should see that. There we go. Now it's that thing's gone now, so I should be able to tap. Let's tap there. We've got the gargoyle and stone because it's more than 0.6. So what I'm going to do is, I don't need to actually technically turn the light off. I just need to trick the phone into thinking the light's off. I can kind of do that by just putting my hand over this thing. Actually, it should create enough. There we go. You see that? So it's turned into the light one. Strangely enough though, it's not moving. In my room, right? Now I don't know why it's not moving in my room. I mean, it's moving in the editor, but why wouldn't it be moving in the room? That's strange. Let's have a look at this. One of these errors might be actually a legitimate error. So it says object reference not set to an instant of an object. So this seems like a real one. Right, so this, it didn't actually switch it on and off. Now, why wouldn't it do that? Now, the reason it didn't do that, the difference is the gargoyle hair I've made changes to, added this vertical movement to, but I didn't, maybe one of you will guess it, I didn't apply the changes. So if I go to my prefab, which is the one I'm actually putting down, there's no VM there. That's why we've got those errors. So it was helpful that those came up here. Those errors came up. So now if I hit apply, now I can switch this gargoyle off as well. Alright, let's try again now. Okay, so we've got plane there, so I'm going to tap. I think I might tap with my finger there, my thumb, but let's try tapping there. See what happens. Alright, so we've got one there. I'm going to cover the screen a little bit. It's turned up, and there you go, it's flying now. Flew up. Where did it go? Why did it go? Can't see. I've moved my hand now to see where it's gone. I've lost it. Maybe it went too high. Did it fall back down again? I can't see the damn thing, which is quite funny. Okay, let's try switching this up again, and let's have a look at. So no real errors here. Let's see if we need to actually reduce this a little bit. So let's change the maximum to 0.05. Then I'm going to hit apply, and I'm going to also hide this gargoyle parent. Hit save, and then let's try one more time. Alright, so we've got this kind of working roughly, and I'm going to place the gargoyle over here. That worked? Yes, it did. So I'm kind of looking at the screen, but I'm also looking at my phone too. So I'm going to just lift this camera up a little bit more. There we go. And I'm going to just cover up the lens a little bit to see what we can see. Now, I can't see the dude now. Alright. Which is weird, right? So let me just figure out where he's gone. Ankle's hair. Gargoyle parent is this, which is pretty cool that we can see him. Where is he? He's just like going all over the place. So he seems to be behind the camera, right? The camera's here. So this is super interesting. Is he falling as well? No. I'm not sure what's happening here, except that the kinematic is still on, which is strange. Vertical movement off. See what happens if I turn the lights off again. It's flying, so he's flying up. You can see him flying up now. Where the camera is. Right. There he is, right? So he's actually here, he's like on the camera rather than where he was originally. There we go. Ah, right. So I've just figured out what's happening now. I can try and show you here. And that's good to be able, really useful to be able to do some instant preview debugging, right? So the issue that we've got, and I think I can reproduce this in the actually here I can reproduce it. What I can do is I can switch off the light controller for now, and I can switch on the flying gargoyle. And if I press play now, the gargoyle should fly up and down. I've got this right. Here we go. So he's flying up and down, and he's spinning around like an absolute nutter, which is a bit weird. I don't know why he's doing that. It might be because there's no constraints here. Let me just remove instant preview from here. And then let me hit some rotational ones. Hit all of the rotational ones. There we go. That's what we want for starters. So let's get rid of this. First of all, we want to hit all of these. Then we want to hit play. And the reason I'm doing this is because I just want to test the flying gargoyle out. It won't work otherwise. So now the flying gargoyle is going up and he's going down. And he's not spinning around like a nutter, which is what he was doing because the rotation wasn't off and he was affected by gravity and there was some movement going on. Okay, so that's better. The second thing we want to do, and we want to check, is what happens when we place the gargoyle somewhere else other than 0, 0. So let's say we place him over here now, and we hit play. Now we're going to know why everything keeps going wrong now. Watch what happens to his position. There. See that? He jumped from here to there. The reason this is the biggest issue that we had, actually, more so than the weird rotation one. And I'll show you what's happening. In the vertical movement script, I use the default values, which set the X and the Z to 0, which is of course the position of the camera when you first start the app up. So we need to change this, and just, I believe all we need to do is have this as transform position dot X, and move this across, transform position dot Z. Now instead of setting it to 0, 0, 0, it will get the existing transform positions wherever it is, and just use those. So let's hit play and let's see what happens. And now it should move up and down from this exact point. Let's have a look. There we go. Now that's much better. Right now I really like that. I think that's so much better. Okay. Now that also might be why I could never see the damn thing flying. Because it was always shooting back at the camera. So what I'm also going to do now is I'm going to switch this off. And I'm going to switch the light controller back on. Alright, and I'm going to hit save. And I'm going to hit play. And I'm just going to check that what happens here. The gargoyle's still flying. Was that expected? I would have thought. Let's have a look at the log. It's 0, right? So 0 is the current light controller frame estimate. So light check. So the intensity is 0 because we're just on using Unity, which is less than light check. So since it's less than light check, it's playing the dark one, which makes sense. So what we can do now is just bring this light check down in testing to there. Now that seems like it worked. Except the is it kinematic is on. Now that is another issue that I have. If I move this up again, it starts to fly up again. Is kinematic is off. If I put this on, oh, so maybe I got it the wrong way around. That's possible. That would make sense. Actually, should it be off for both of them? I wonder. So we want it to. The reason we want it to be false actually when it's a stone. It's so that it drops, and when it's flying, I guess we want it to be true. Yeah, that would make sense actually. I got it the wrong way around. We want it to be true so that it's not affected by gravity. And actually, if it was true, then it wouldn't have been doing that strange rotational issue either. That would have been gone. So let's boost this up from 0.05 to 0.1. And let's also just hit apply as well, just to remember. And let's hit play. Let's see what happens when we hit play on this. So this guy is flying up, great. Didn't fly very high though. So what I'm also going to do is just change this to a 1. I'm interested to see what it is, if it's how high it goes now. If it's a 1 in the real world. Not just on the device. So I'm going to leave it as 1, and I'm going to test this out on the device. Well, not yet though. First I want to just see what that drop is like, if that works. So let's put this up. It's going to fly up, which is good. How high does it go? Not too high, so it looks okay. And then I'm going to turn this off. There, he dropped. Now that was good. The only issue is the strange. Okay, so we've got another issue here. I don't know if it's a huge problem, but what's happening is when we switch it off, he drops. So he drops. If I bring this down to stone, which is good, but then he automatically comes back to 0, which was this point. We actually want it to be the last point that it was stone. That would be the ideal place, right? Having said that, if the person places it on the floor, technically that will be, since it's going up and down, it will always be that place, the last place that it dropped, unless they turn the light off and on mid-flight, if that makes sense. If anybody's hopefully you're following along with me. But okay, let's just try this on device now and see what happens. I'm curious to see how high he goes. I don't know if my phone is connected yet. It doesn't seem to say it is. Let's try it again. Okay, I think we found the floor now. So I'm going to place this little dude over here. Okay, it's taking a bit of time. It seems to be switching on and off the instant preview. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Flicking on and off. Okay, I think it's bugging out a little bit. Okay. Let's try again. Alright, it's there somewhere. It was there. It's kind of going somewhere else. Okay, so I've just got an error at ARCore instant preview. So let me try open again. It might have been because I got a text message just in the middle of that. You might have heard it on the phone. So let's switch this off. That was my friend James. Thanks, James, for breaking my video there. Okay, let's try one more time. Hit play, and then I think it's. I'm going to leave that in there because I want you to see that it happens to me as well. Actually, something's gone wrong here. So let me just get rid of this gargoyle, because this gargoyle is going to keep flying around in my game. I don't want that. The only gargoyle I want in my game is the one that I place down. So let me just switch that gargoyle off completely, the parent object off, and hit play, and then we can try again. Now actually there is another issue that I've just realized, right, and this might be why there were some issues placing the gargoyle, and I'll tell you what those issues are when you see him. This should also be 0 and 0 when we place our gargoyle, because we want to place our gargoyle on the exact position that we tap. So now I've done that 0, 0, 0, hit apply. Now I can switch off and press play, and we should get be able to see what it's going to look like now. Let's take a look. Alright, so we're just looking for the surface, and once we found the surface, I can place the gargoyle, and it should be exactly where I tap. Let's tap in here. Did that work? Okay. And then I'm going to cover up the lens a little bit. Cover it from the lower. I don't know what I'm looking at here. It's really slow. I'm sorry about this, but this is the best. It's kind of slow, but it's quicker than. Maybe I'll have to do it from the top. Okay. Okay, I think it's kind of working. I don't know if I lost tracking or the gargoyle is just vanished off the screen. It looks like it's working right on this. Yes, that does look like it's working, right? Yes, I can kind of see it. I just need to turn the stone. I think it's falling again. But what I think the best thing I can do is really try it on the device. He's there, he's flying there up and down. You can just about see him. There you go, this is a better look, right? And then if I turn it to stone, bam. So that actually did work. I'm going to try that on device as well, build it properly and see how that looks. And then, well, I'll take a video of that and we'll hopefully have a good, you know, a much more solid opinion of it. So we can see that the gargoyle is flying, and I'm using the fridge to actually block the sunlight. So when I step to the right, sorry, when I step to the left, the sunlight, the full light appears and the gargoyle turns to stone. But you'll notice that it doesn't start flying from the point that it hits the floor. It only starts flying from the kind of the point where almost where the height of the camera is, right? So that's a bit of a clue, right? Why does it look like it's coming out from where the camera is, the gargoyle? Well, it is. That's why. That's 0, right? The minimum is 0, and the point at which I start the app, that is 0. That's 0, 0, 0. So the camera is at this point here. The camera's on the floor, but in ARCore, I'm standing up. So I'm, you know, I'm relatively tall. So the camera was up. If I started the camera on the floor, level with the floor, then it would look like it's floating up. And that's the same thing that we had here with this vertical movement code. You remember we had to change this from 0, 0 to transform of the actual gargoyle. So we need to make some changes to the minimum and maximum, right? We actually need to have it so that the minimum is not 0, which is I mean here it's -1, but it's not -1, it's actually 0, which we set here. And it's not, the maximum is not necessarily 1, right? What we need it to be, what we need 0 to be, is the floor, right? That's what we need it to be, because that's the point at which it takes off. So what we need to do here is do minimum is equal, as soon as we place the gargoyle, we know we're placing it on the floor. So we do minimum is equal to transform dot position dot y, right? That's what we want it to be. And the maximum, well, the maximum, it could be 1. Actually, there's no reason why it can't fly up. But why don't we just do maximum is equal to the camera position, right? The camera Y position. So we could do game object dot find game object with, oops, let me get rid of that. Try again. Dot find game object with tag, and just do main camera. Right, and now that's going to find the game object of the main camera. Then we want to do dot transform dot position dot y, and that should get us to fly from the ground to the camera position, and then kind of back up and bouncing up and down from those positions. And we can test that on device as well. Now we won't be able to test that quite well on the Unity editor, and that's why it's still building to the device is still the best way to test. I'm gonna now, I mean these are gonna get overwritten anyway, but I can leave them in, and let's just see what happens. I just want to make sure we don't get any errors when I hit play, because we're trying something different. Okay, and if I put in the Gargoyle parent, there we go. The Gargoyle parent is flying. It's kind of coming down. It's flying up again. Now, can I move? Ah, okay. So we have a little bit of an issue. Instant not set to a movement. So if I press play here, unpause it, go to tag and change this to main camera. Now we have a main camera. Hit play again. Once I bring this Gargoyle back in, and then let's see what happens now. And now it shouldn't really fly, it should just kind of hover around the camera. That's better, right? And the reason it's not flying is because the camera is at the exact point. Now if I was to take this camera, right, and shift it up to about here, which is really what's going to happen when with ARCore, we're going to be standing, the floor is going to be low down, which is where the Gargoyle is, and then we want the Gargoyle to fly up and then back down again and drop when it's dark. So let's see what happens. The ARCore camera might bring the camera down. There you go, I did, brought the camera down because that's just the ARCore code, but you'll notice that the Gargoyle is still flying at the height of the camera, of where the camera initially was. So it's not chasing the camera, it's just flying at where the camera was. And what we can do also is get this hair, this Gargoyle parent, bring down the light check again, and it's watch it 10 to stone, it dropped, bring it back, and then it has continued on from where it last was. So it's flying. Okay, so what we don't want it to do is we don't want it to be there. We want to kind of almost reset this minimum maximum values once it's been switched off as well. That's another bug that we need to fix. So if I go here and I add in let's see, if I add in something here like public float base value, right, and the base value is equal to the minimum, the base value is going to be set here as the transform dot position dot y. So when we first put it down, we know now we have this fixed base value. The maximum value, I think that's okay for now. I think we can leave that there. Yep, I'm going to leave that as that. I'm going to put the minimum value is equal to the base value and the start value as well. Right, and then what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to put in, because we're switching the vertical movement on and off, we're enabling and disabling it. There's something called void enable. I think it's enabled. Let me check. I might have to Google that. Let's have a quick check. Unity enabled. I think it's on enabled actually. On enabled. Okay, so we have on enabled and on disabled. So I'm just going to drag this code in here. I just googled it, and it's on the forums or on the documentation here. So let's do it so that the So this does a swap here when you hit the t is more than 1 and t is equal to 0. So we probably actually want to change this as well, right? So this is time, that's fine. So what we want to do is we want to set it so the minimum here on enabled, the minimum is back to being the base value. Right, actually, so we just want this. And the maximum is back to being this as well. So actually what's going to happen, this is kind of interesting, is every time we switch this on again, I don't think we need the disabled one to get rid of that one. I'll leave the code in though, because it's interesting to have. What it will do is it will reset the base value to the ground and set the maximum to be the new point of the camera. So if the camera changes position again, it will set that again as well. I'm going to switch this off for now because I know this won't work very well, the maximum, because we're in testing and ARCore resets the camera value. But I think it will be interesting to see if the Gargoyle starts flying again always from the base value, and I'd prefer that. So let's have a look. Right, so that's fine. It's flying up and down. I'm going to take the Gargoyle parent, drop the light values, or when it's at its highest, and then bring it back up again. So let's bring it up there. It's falling. Bring it back up again. And that didn't quite work the way I thought it would. It still brought it up from the top. So I would expect the base value to be the original value down here. The minimum is 0, base value is 0. So the minimum is 0 here. Yeah, that's better. It's from the bottom now. Right, and it's the maximum though seems to be back to 0 as well. Okay, so I think I know why. Let's do, I've got a base value but I don't have the top value. So let's actually save the top value as well, and the top value will be it's a little bit more complicated than I thought it would be actually, but we might as well see this through. Top value is going to be there, and the maximum value is going to equal the top value here. And then what I'll do is I'll just put in the top value here. So the reason I'm doing that is because I believe in the update the minimum maximum is being reversed. That means the minimum maximum values are being reversed. I'm also going to put this in the disable one actually, because I think that when it gets disabled, the vertical movement, that's when it probably should be set. It would make more sense that it's set then. That way when it's enabled, it's setting that point. So let's double check. I think that should work better now. So let's have a look at this. Let's hit play. This should be flying from here to there. Right, good. And now when I switch the light check off, it should drop. And then back on again. There you go, from the bottom there. Did you see that? There, from the bottom. Even though I'm switching it off from the top, I'll switch the light off from the top, but it will switch back on. It will fly from the bottom. I didn't do it. Why didn't I do it this time? Okay. It's back up at the top for some reason. I don't know why it's doing that. It's falling. Huh, interesting. So let's have a look at the minimum values and see how those are being affected. The minimum is 0, the maximum is 4, 0 is minimum, max is 0. So let's switch this off now. So now it's set the minimum to 0, the maximum to 4. Let's bring this back up again. Right, okay, I know what the other issue is now. It's just dawned on me. I believe it's because we have this temp value. So the temp value, I don't think it's getting reset again. I wonder if that's happening. Static float t, starting value for the lerp. Right, so starting value for the lerp is t. So it's not the temp, it's the t value. So I think that needs to be changed. And I think since this is static, it's never actually, it never gets reset. I wonder why it was static for. I wonder if there's a reason for that. So if I change it from a static to a regular in float, let's bring this back up. Let's bring this up here, right? And then let's also do t is equal to 0 here, right? I don't think I need the enable one. I think having it disable would work better. But let's see if this will fix it. I think it will. I believe it will. Okay, so it's going to fly up, good. And when it flies up, see the t value now is going crazy, and that probably wasn't getting reset. So let's move it up and then bring it down, turn to stone, and bring it back up again. There you go. Now it's at the bottom there. You saw that? There's stone, and now it's on the floor. Let's imagine the gargoyle's on the floor, and now it starts flying again. So it was at t value. There we go. This is what we're going to see really there, right? So we want it to look like it's flying from the ground. Now I think that's enough to be able to test it on the device. So I'll do one final test, and of course, before I do that test, I need to reset a few of these values. I need to hit apply for this gargoyle so that the prefab changes. I don't know if we needed that actually necessarily, because the only thing we changed was the scripts, but it's always best to be careful. Then I need to hide this gargoyle because I don't want that flying around on my device. I also need to reset these Y value, the Y value for the camera, right? Because we don't want it to be the ARCore camera to be floating in the air. We want it to be exactly where it should be, and we don't want the gargoyle to pick up the wrong values either for that. So now I think we can build the device. So I'm going to build a device, and I will show you what that looks like. So this is much better now. Now it flies from the exact point, from the ground position really now, rather than from the sky, and it falls from the place that it tends from. So you'll see when I walk past it here, and I cover up the light with my shadow, it should fly not from in the sky but from the exact point. There you go. So and it drops from where it last was as well. So after building on device, we can see there's a few things that weren't quite perfect. The light estimation value, that light check value, should probably change. It was probably a little too dark and a little too bright at times, so this light value check probably shouldn't be 0.5. But I hope you did enjoy this tutorial anyway, and make sure you leave a like and a comment if you did.